All right, all right, all right. Happy Thursday, everybody. My name is 12 Gauge. Welcome to my channel, 12 Gauge Investigative. I hope everybody's doing well tonight. We're all here just joining the club, just joining the crew tonight. Why don't y'all just come on in, grab a seat while they're hot? How's everybody doing? Let me know in the chat how you're doing tonight. Did everybody have a good day? Are y'all ready for a good show? Are y'all ready for this Thursday night Idaho 4 update? It's open. Or is it? Yeah, I'd be bummed too, Rondi. I'd be bummed too, except, you know what? After Friday, your boy goes on vacation. I'm glad to see you guys here. Thank you so much for being here. Can y'all hear me fine? Can y'all see me? Am I clear to you? Is this thing on? Let me know if you can hear me. I know you can't see me because got the camera off tonight. Just not really feeling the cam, but regardless. So how many of y'all saw the dissemination hearing today? I was lucky enough to get part of it. I mean, I was trying to negotiate my nephew from afar to work it so that he could get it for us. I don't know who was in the chat or who wasn't because I was at work. So if you were in there and you were actually able to see it, that's awesome. But if you weren't, I decided to play it and also talk about it a little bit. So let's go ahead and watch it. It wasn't very long, I don't think. So it's not going to take up a lot of time. We'll get to talk about it more than anything. I'm kind of scared of what it looks like because I haven't even watched the replay. So no telling what was gotten and what was not gotten. So if it kind of messes up or anything, you know, I tried. Here we go. Well, I'm going to play the new intro again for those that are just coming in here. I mean, I'm pretty proud of it. It's pretty cool, I think. Let me know what y'all think. Here we go. Jesus, how long did it take court to start? All right, here we go.
All right. And to be fair, Ms. Olson, was there anything you felt was important to add that was not contained within your briefing?
Your Honor, we would just briefly say in response to the defendant's brief, we certainly understand the expressed concern about the media coverage of their client. We don't think continuing the non-dissemination order helps that at all. It simply continues to limit the ability of the members of the press to reach out to the people who know the most about the case. It doesn't obligate them to say anything. We also understand that they expressed that there was a due process right related to the sentencing. I read the case that they submitted. I think that there is obviously a due process right at sentencing, but I don't think that case is really it doesn't provide any guidance to the court here, because that was about information provided to the court. And given the very limited scope, and we understand it's very important, but given the very limited scope of what's to be decided at the sentencing, we don't think the arguments that Mr. Kohberger made should outweigh at this stage the First Amendment rights of our clients. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right. In light of that response by the media outlets or interested outlets, Ms. Barlow, do you want to add anything?
I would only say, Your Honor, as this court is well aware, the publicity in this case is so extensive and emotions are already so high that adding fuel to the fire of media interviews or a rush to interview people as they leave the courthouse or enter the courthouse would only increase the concerns that the defense has. And even though the plea has a specific sentence attached to it, as this court is well aware, things happen in plea hearings and, sentencing hearings. And to minimize the possibility of that, we request that this order stay in place.
All right, thank you. All right, as the court has considered the petition, frankly, the court was prepared at the time the plea was entered to lift the non-dissemination order in order to give the parties time to evaluate that and to ensure I wasn't missing anything. When both sides objected, I agreed to continue the non-dissemination order. I also indicated that I would have the potential to look at that again before sentencing, because frankly, I anticipated the motion from somebody, in this case, the Ms. Olson and her clients, was likely to be coming. At this point, I do not believe the purpose of the non-dissemination order, the primary purpose, which is to ensure that we can seat a impartial jury, is any longer at play. The concerns identified by the defendant, while certainly not to minimize those, they are concerns and they are significant concerns. I do not think, however, the non-dissemination order and the right of the public to information is outweighed or outweighs those rights, I should say. And frankly, I don't think that lifting the non-dissemination order will meaningfully impact those concerns. I mean,
when he was saying that, I thought to myself, he might be backpedaling. He might be about to just drop a big one and say, hey, we're not going to lift it. I really was kind of leery just now hearing that. I know that he lifts it, but hearing him talk like that, I'm like, okay, was he kind of going over in his head, really, should I lift it? Should I not? What do y'all think about, had he not lifted it, with all the media stuff that they were talking about, right? Do you really believe in your heart of hearts that the media has done as much damage as they claim the media has done, or has it mostly been the attorneys? Let me know what you think. Hey, Kelly. Hey, Farah. Hey, Sirius. Rondi, Texas. You know, because I thought at that point, oh man, he's about to say, nah, he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. But let's see when he does decide to do this.
The media frenzy, as it has been described, will continue regardless. It is a little bit like water will find low ground. In this case, the media is going to write about something regardless about this case. The lifting the non-dissemination order does not require the counsel or others who were previously bound by it to speak. And the state has indicated they don't intend to until after the sentencing. And certainly I would hope that the media interests would respect those positions and give people the space that they need and request. In terms of, for example, the defendant's family and others coming and going at the sentencing, we intend to have, as we did before, appropriate security measures in place to ensure that they, as well as the victims, are allowed to get in and out unscathed by that's what they wish to do. Or if they wish to speak to the media, they can do that as well.
I mean, I agree with you, Kelly. I totally do. Also believe that, you know, I don't believe the media was playing as big a part, maybe in the beginning, maybe before, you know, they put the gag order, the families were speaking a lot, they were criticizing the police, blah, 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 all that stuff. But once the gag order went in place, it's kind of like that's when everything went crazy, because all you had was the PCA and little bitty rumors here and there. Not little bitty, there was a lot of rumors. But, you know, at the same time, I believe that over time, we've gotten documents, right? We've gotten documents. We've heard the Dateline episode. We've saw the docuseries. You know, to be honest, I haven't listened to anybody read that book, or I've not even read it myself. I'm not really interested in reading it. But I'm saying that if you've read any of the documents, like I've read in the chat or like I've read in the lives, you do have a lot of the information that they're going to probably release to the public. It's probably going to be a lot more formatted in a way where they didn't put all the information per se in those documents. You're going to see almost it written to an extent, almost to show you the level of progression throughout the documents. You know, it would just, but I don't believe that the mainstream media really affected this case as much as people have stated, because, you know, once it went cold, I mean, once the gag order came in place, what were they reporting? They really weren't reporting anything, because the mainstream media was not speculating. It was people on YouTube that were doing it. They were hunting people down. They were, you know, doxing people. They were doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So it wasn't the mainstream media that I would have seen was the problem. They should have been honest and said, hey, it was YouTube that's going to be the potential, you know, swayer of the jury. I believe they would have been able to get a jury regardless. I'm with y'all on that. I'm with you when you say that there's been countless cases before this where they were able to get a fair jury. I believe, based on everything that I've seen and what you've seen as well, I'm sure, that the whole time the defense's job was to get the death penalty off the table, because she started with that from day one. She started with that from day one. The prosecution didn't really say much until the suppression hearings. And that's when we really started hearing from the prosecution. But up until that point, it was mostly the defense wanting to get this off the table, and I'm sure it was for a reason. Like I've said all along, she wanted to save her client, and, maybe she did. Maybe she saved his life. Maybe she played it. Maybe she played it well. Maybe she played the prosecution. I mean, maybe she was sneaky enough to play the prosecution.
Well, at this point, I just don't think that I can justify the continuation of the non-dissemination order. I think the rights of the public to information in this case is paramount, given the fact that a plea has been entered in this case, and so I'm going to lift the non-dissemination order. But I want to point out what that means and what it doesn't. So obviously nobody's required to speak to the media, first of all. Second of all, I want to be clear that the court's prior preservation order to the parties is not lifted and continues to stay in place. And so it's important to understand that those obligations still exist. And then the other thing I want to point out is that by lifting the non-dissemination order, that does not convert sealed documents to unsealed documents. Documents previously sealed by the court are still sealed. Now, I see the media also filed a petition to be heard to unseal everything. I'm denying that outright, the request to intervene, because I think it's premature at this point. So the court will its intent is to, after sentencing, begin the process of reviewing all the sealed material in this case to determine what should be unsealed and what should not be unsealed. That process.
I mean, I've heard people discuss that part right there, even before he said that. When he said that he was tired of everything being sealed, for whatever reason, individuals have a black and white mindset these days where if you say something, you're not allowed to ever change your mind ever again. That is what it is. You're stuck and bound to that statement. Or if you read something a certain way, then that's it. There's no more changing it. You're stuck with that. Human nature says that you can change your mind on anything when it comes to the law, as long as it's lawful and not unlawful. And these documents are sealed for a reason. They were sealed for a reason. What's the point of having a dissemination order in place before he lifted it today if they were going to show everything anyways? It doesn't make sense, but to some people, it does make sense. It seems like if you don't see it, then people are hiding it, and I can assume what it means. How many times have you ever done that in your life and been wrong? If you didn't know the facts and you assumed something, and then it didn't happen that way and you were wrong, how many of you have done that and were honest enough to say, hey, I made a mistake. I thought it was going to go the other way. Yeah, you're right, Kelly. You're right. I mean, I believe all along she's tried to get the death penalty off and tried to paint a picture of incompetence or the fact that they've been trying to show prejudice in this case regarding his amendment rights. That way, if it did get to the point of him being found guilty on the appeal, she could say, well, they didn't listen to this portion. They went against his amendment rights, and they did this anyways. So this allowed my client to have an unfair trial and blah, 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 and so on and so on. But it didn't go that way. And there's people still stuck on the appeal. This man's going to talk about it here in a minute. I've heard bits and pieces of this. I haven't watched it all. I've heard bits and pieces. I've heard people's understanding of it. But if you look up an appeals process, there's only two ways that really the appeal will ever really get done. One, if there was prosecutorial misconduct and the court deliberately went against your rights, which, as we've seen, has not happened. Do you remember when Brian pled guilty? One of the questions was, do you believe and understand that your attorney has represented you to the best of her ability, your team? And he said yes. So that crosses that off the box right there. The box is crossed off. He said it out of his own mouth. So to come back and say, no, they didn't represent me well. And he also stated, has anybody coerced you, forced you, or made promises to you if you plead guilty? And he said no. That was insinuating that the court made no promises to him whatsoever that was illegally done. So if you go back and you watch that plea hearing, you're going to hear and listen to those questions. And I suggest that you do. Don't just take my word for it. Go back and listen to that, because they're covering their ass. He does have an appeal if he chooses so. But you just don't get an appeal because you say, hey, I want to do over. It wasn't done right. There has to be sufficient evidence to show misconduct on the part of the court or your attorneys regarding your civil liberty rights. And they covered that when he pled. That's what all those questions about yes or no were about. Before they even got to him pleading guilty for all the murders and the burglary, he was answering those questions for a reason. They've already covered that. But you know what? Don't believe me. Go find out for yourself. You know what I mean? Because they did give him effective counsel. They really did. 26 and counting motion for discovery. She's still working, even though he's pled. So if she was ineffective, she would have stopped working a long time ago, wouldn't she have? She's worked hard to get certain things removed. She's worked hard for the Brady Giglio stuff. She's worked hard. I'm not a fan of the defense or the prosecution, but there was no prosecutorial misconduct in this case, in my opinion, due to the fact that those questions were answered by the defendant himself, as the man from the bench was asking those questions. Exactly. He did answer those questions, that he was properly represented. Now, had he said no, had he said, I've had a crappy representation, they haven't worked in my favor, they haven't wanted to do anything that I've asked them to do, or the judge himself was ruling against these motions without citing case law of previous cases on how he made his decision, then that would be negligence on his part, and it would show prejudice. So as far as I know, they're not gonna appeal this. The man's gonna go to prison. He's gonna start his journey. Let's see what the court has to say.
Process will include an opportunity for counsel to register any objections to unsealing documents, specific documents, and request to redact certain sealed documents before they are unsealed, or unseal them in a redacted form. I intend to do that in groupings of documents at a time. As I sit here now, my thought is I'm going to start from newest to oldest, because those are the ones that I have the most working knowledge of as to the reason for the.
Yeah, you're right. You're right on that, Callie. But the Supreme Court ruled that they still should have an appeal regarding what I just said. If the court or the attorney misrepresented him in a way where it was prejudicial, or they were showing some kind of negligence, then they could put an appeal. I mean, he could appeal. He could say, you know what, my lawyer sucked, blah, 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 all this. But they still have to prove it. And I don't believe that they have enough paperwork in their favor to show otherwise, because he did state he was, represented well. You get what I'm saying? I mean, I wouldn't worry about that. I mean, you want checks and balances in the law. You don't want it just to be one-sided. I mean, I'm glad there are checks and balances for that. But at an extent, it just goes a little too far. It just drawn out. You know what I mean? Yeah, she did save his life. You're right. She saved his life. She did what she was supposed to do. If she was ineffective, he would have never pled. And if he would have been found guilty, he could have said she was ineffective. See, I got the death penalty. She didn't do anything for me. You're right. But she didn't lack any of that. I don't believe that they have a case to stand on. They might still appeal it. That's his right as a U.S. citizen. But it doesn't mean the outcome is going to be that, he's going to be found innocent after that. And I believe that's what a lot of people think.
Sealing of the documents, as well as the content of those documents. And so I think I can get through those more quickly. As we move backward in time, it's going to take further, more extensive review by the court to figure out, to obviously review the content of those documents, listen to those hearings, et cetera, and determine why they were sealed.
Well, let's discuss that a minute, because that's a good point, Callie. You're making some great points tonight. Not that you don't always, but that's a great point. He does have the opportunity, like I said, there's checks and balances in the court of law. That's where the scales come from. You want it to be balanced. You want your defense. You want the prosecution. You want everything to be balanced. So he could change his mind. But the danger with that is, if they go to trial, if they do get a jury, he's already admitted guilt. It's on record. There's no way that you can come back and say, well, no, I didn't admit guilt. I mean, he could, because after the fact, this is the one person who was at that bar flirting with waitresses, and the manager confronts him, and he says, I didn't do anything. I don't know what you're talking about. It's delusional is what it is, and it's becoming ridiculous at this point. You get what I'm saying? I mean, he could But once a jury hears that you admitted guilt to this crime, and then the state, whatever they present against you, how is your defense team gonna defend that unless they say you didn't clearly understand it? But he clearly stated he understood the charges against him. He's never denied that he did not understand what he is facing. Never. Not one time has he said, I don't understand this or I need clarification in front of the court. Not one time. So he's been able to state that he's competent. So for him to change his plea and then say, not guilty, okay, we're going to go with the jury. We're going to go get a jury for you and let them hear all the evidence and also that you've admitted guilt. Regardless if you changed it to not guilty, that once again, that is his right. That is his right. You get what I'm saying? It is his right. And it may be not viewed as a popular opinion, but that is his right. I agree with you. I agree with you, Texas. I mean, it seems like he's playing those games. He's playing those games. Oh, I know who Matt Murphy is. I've read his book on my panel. The Book of Murder. Yeah. If Matt Murphy would have been trying this case, there would have never been a plea. They would have gone to trial.
Whether that rationale still is necessary, or that rationale still requires the documents to maintain that sealed status. And so before everybody gets out their pen and paper and sends in public records requests, understand those will be denied for sealed records until they are unsealed. And that process is going to take time. And I'm not talking days. I'm probably not talking weeks for that to be accomplished. So I hope people understand patience will be required to get through that, as I'm going to have to review those myself to make those decisions. Now, we may be able to speed things up if neither party objects to groupings of documents or specific documents being unsealed. But it's important to review those because those documents may include information that, pursuant to Rule 32, are not to be made public, including birth dates, social securities, information about minors and victims, and information that would be essentially inappropriate to unseal, including protection of individuals from undue harassment, et cetera.
Well, I think that people are going with that statement that he said, minors and victims. I believe that statement was probably said in error, or there could be something more to that. Either way, they're probably going to seal it either way, because if it is a minor cannot be having their information out for public view. They have that right to have their stuff not in the public domain. So if there is something about a minor in this case, then that is the law. A minor has the right to have their stuff not out in the public domain. But I can't understand, as far as I've been covering this case, as far as y'all been covering it in the chat, is there a time when you remember a minor being mentioned in this whole case? Because even 2 years ago, the youngest one was what? 20? 19? 20? That is not a minor. They're still adults, I think that was a Freudian slip. But if there happened to be a minor that was either interviewed or had some information. Um, you know, if there had been a minor that was either informant, not informant, I'll redact that. If there was a minor that was interviewed based on witness statements or made a tip line call or something and they were interviewed, I mean, that would go into those documents, of course, because you'd be able to see who all the tip line people was. And like he said, the names would be redacted, the birthdays, their socials, all that stuff, because that's part of the information that they gather. So, right. So she was the youngest. That's the only thing I can remember, I can foresee, is if there was a minor that called in a tip. Maybe running into Mr. Koberger and something happened that we haven't been told about. Maybe it wasn't anything nefarious, but it was just an interview that made him have some kind of light shown on him. Or he could have had, I mean, I don't want to think this, but he could have had minors on his phone. Pictures of minors on his phone. You don't know. I mean, we don't know. We haven't been shown his phone. You know? So yeah, I mean, there could have been, he could have been taking pictures of somebody and there could have been a minor in the background. Maybe that minor was identified, placed in the documents, because an investigation is an investigation. You're leaving no stone unturned. So, I mean, it might not be anything, but then again, it could be everything. I mean, it's hard to understand unless, we actually see the paperwork, and we won't see it on the minor. I'm telling you, they're not going to unseal that for the minor because the minor has that right to have their paperwork not in the public domain. So let me continue on. I wanted to address that because, that's very simple to understand. There could have been a whole lot of different scenarios why that was said. We won't know because it's not going to be unsealed. So, it doesn't really matter, right? We're not going to see it anyways.
And so that's just going to take time. In addition, I'm unlikely to unseal much until after sentencing and after the appeals period has run. Now, I recognize the plea agreement includes a waiver of the right to appeal, but as the parties probably know, the U.S. Supreme Court in Garza versus Idaho has indicated the fact that a defendant waives the right to appeal doesn't mean they don't have the right to appeal. And so it may affect the outcome of that appeal, and it may affect the underlying case and the plea agreement. But nonetheless, the right to appeal does not go away because of the waiver. And so I think it's important for that time period to also play itself out.
And I believe once again that he was merely just clarifying that for a lot of people, because you don't know how many phone calls, how many emails, all this stuff where people are bombarding him about that appeal. Clarifying. Okay, we want you to clarify for the court, does he have an appeal or does he not? You get what I'm saying? So, yeah. Exactly, PKC. Exactly. Because you just never know how this thing is going to end up. None of us believed that he would plead, did we? None of us did. I think we were all pretty much ready to see a trial. So it can change in a moment's time. So the fact that he's saying what he's saying, he's just kind of covering all bases. Nothing more. He's not going to come back next week in the sentencing and say, oh, everything I said the other day, I didn't mean it. This is what I really meant. That's not what he's doing here.
To see that it goes the way that I think people intend and expect it to. And so I will be entering an order in the next week or so outlining the process for the review of the sealed records. And counsel will need to maintain a presence in the case in order to review those materials as they are proposed to be unsealed by the court. Because the timeline that I will likely give you will not be, I suspect, extensive as for each group of records. So I might give you 14 days, for example, to provide a response as to a group of, a dozen or a couple dozen records at a time. So just sort of heads up and fair play with respect to that. Any questions by the parties about the ruling today?
Not from the state, Your Honor. Thank you.
No questions from the defense. Thank you.
So Olson, do you have any questions?
And I don't, Your Honor. I wasn't certain if I was included within the parties. I would just say I think that the court's proposed manner of moving forward on the sealed records will likely largely address our interests, and we appreciate the court setting that out in this hearing today.
Yeah. If certain records after review maintain their sealed status, it would be at that point that I would entertain.
I'm going to answer that question, Rondi. Brian is in a room with a little computer or a camera and a microphone. He's wearing scrubs, not a vest. Why would he need a... I'm not saying you, okay? I've heard that all day long. He's wearing a vest. He's wearing a suicide vest. Suicide vests are usually green. They're not maroon. I could be wrong, but most of the time they're green. And when you're wearing a vest, it doesn't look as covered as that. That looks like he's wearing scrubs. The scrubs that they give them. I could be wrong. I haven't zoomed in and actually looked. But it looked to me like you were just wearing jailhouse scrubs. If he was wearing a suicide vest, I don't know if they'd even put him on camera. For what reason? He could be there off camera without his face being shown. There's a lot of different things that there's a lot of legality to certain things. You're just not gonna put somebody out there like that. Because think if his family's watching this. Are you really gonna want to see your loved one in a suicide smock? Well, I know. I'm not saying it about anybody because I can't really tell in this picture. Let me look at the other one. It looks like, I don't know. I can't really tell. It could be, but I just don't know what color a suicide vest would be for Idaho. I know in Texas they're green. The ones they have in county are green. That looks like that could even be a regular dress shirt. You don't know. You get what I'm saying? Because that doesn't really look like a scrub top. Now that I'm looking at it, it could just be a regular shirt of some sort. What do y'all think? What do y'all think about that? Y'all think he's wearing a suicide vest? Is there any way y'all could look that up on Google and let me know? you know, what the suicide vests look like in Idaho? Oh, during the hearing, yeah, he was probably wearing a vest. Yeah, during the hearing under that dress shirt, yeah, most definitely. But right here, I don't know. It's hard to tell. All I see is little lines, like like there's a purple shirt underneath, and then there's like a basketball looking shirt on top. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean that's a good catch. I don't know. It'd be nice to know, but I don't see why they would let him on camera if he's under suicide watch. But even if he's under suicide watch, that doesn't necessarily mean that he is the one that specified he wanted to hurt himself. All they could have done is ask him, "Hey, do you feel safe right now? Do you feel like you want to help hurt yourself?" And he could have said, "Well, I'm not really sure," or "No, I don't feel myself right now." And that could have been enough for them to slap a vest on him. I mean, like I said, it's all about liability. It's all about you know, it's all about that. Yeah, he did mention that. He did mention that about the threats, but you know, a vest isn't going to cover a jugular, you know?
Main request for me to consider that more formally and to have a voice in that. But I think until I've gone through that process, it's premature, which is why I don't intend to take up your motion, your more recent filed motion at this time. So,
Thank you, Your Honor. We appreciate that.
all right. And with that, then we are adjourned. Thank you. I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. I guess the kid did a good job. There's a little bit of it that I didn't really get, but you know, I guess overall they did a good job. What do y'all think? You think the kid did a good job recording that for me? He's not going to like intake in Kuma, Idaho. Max Sec takes at least 30 days. Yeah, diagnostics, intake, it takes a long time. It takes a long time. You're right about that. Um, it's going to be a while before he even hits an ID unit. So, you know, all this time, think about it. You're going to get out of county. You're going to get to go through the process of actually going to prison. He may be enjoying this because he's enjoying the experience. Because maybe that's what he wanted to see all along. Yeah, I agree with that too, Texas. The only scrubs you ever saw, the nurses were wearing them. You're right. But let me ask y'all that question. I mean, because I want to talk to you for a little bit before I sign off. I know that people have questions and people have comments, and I appreciate all of those that you have in the chat. Um, that's what I was going to ask. Do you believe that he is enjoying this? Do you believe that he's enjoying the notoriety since he pled guilty? Yeah, you're right. I think he loved to want the experience with TB experience. Yeah, you're okay. I like this comment. Only scrubs I've ever seen in jail were the nurses were wearing. And they're usually tight as hell, aren't they, Texas? Anyways, y'all do believe that he's enjoying this, right? He's enjoying it. He's riding the notoriety out. Now that this whole process is almost to an end, unless there is an appeal. Do you believe, with everything you know about this case, and you can be honest, do you believe that both sides did the best that they could with it, based on what you know? Not on what's going to be unsealed, not on anything that's going to surprise us, but do you believe that both sides did the best they could with what they had? Or do you believe that one side could have done just a little more to get it done, or to protect him even more? Do you believe it should have went to trial, is what I'm asking. Because there's a lot of individuals that are upset because it didn't. But at the same token, these individuals that don't trust in the criminal justice system or the judicial system, they trust in a Patterson book to give them all the rightful information that they've been looking for all along. You understand what I mean by that? You have documents and you read these documents and you have court hearings and you have all this stuff. You don't want to believe it. You want to tear it down. You want to cherry pick it. You want to do all this stuff. A book comes out and then all of a sudden that book is the gospel, because that book is giving you what you have thought all along. You don't believe that that's strategic in the author's eyes? I agree too. I believe he was represented well. You know, you can never appease both sides. I agree it should have went to trial. You're right. I mean, even if you didn't have all the evidence, and even if most of it was circumstantial, that shows a lot regarding your confidence about your own abilities. We're talking about Matt Murphy, and I've reached out to Matt, and I've read his book. And by the way, if you get bored, there's an audio book that I've been reading. It's called Murder, the Murder Book by Matt Murphy. It's in my library. He would have been a lot more aggressive. He would have went in there knowing his options. He would have known what he was up against. Yeah. I mean, there could have been one. I mean, look at what happened to Diddy. We all know that Diddy was guiltier than what the 2 charges he got. We know it. But our justice system, like I said, it's about checks and balances. Is it always equal? Is it always balanced in the favor of justice? No. But we must stand behind whatever we have at the moment. You get what I'm saying? I'm just glad, and this isn't spoken on, okay? I'm just glad that this guy is not out stalking, surveilling anybody else, either in Pennsylvania, in Moscow, or in Pullman, or in Timbuktu. I'm glad he's locked up. Per his own admittance, he is a killer. That's not my words. That's his words. And last night I was talking about something different. And tonight, I want you to know that I do agree with a lot of what y'all were saying as far as we need to know. I get that. We do need to know. Nothing needs to be hidden from it because that is the constitutional right. But at the same time, are we really going to know anything different than we already know? You get what I'm saying? Because that's kind of like the tidal wave that we've been on for 2.5 years. We're always waiting for the next wave to hit so that this is going to be the big wave. This is going to be the wave that we ride that's going to give us the satisfaction. And you know what happens? That wave comes and it's just as bland as the other two. And we get let down. We're always looking for that. Kind of like the other side. I kept hearing, wait till this hearing. Wait till Cy testifies. Wait till this comes along. Wait till that comes along. Well, that never came along. It's like you're still waiting for something that may or may not ever happen. So the best thing that you could possibly do at this point would accept what you have at the moment. Well, I understand that, Kelly. I've reached out to him, so if we're lucky, he might be a guest. You never know. Yeah, I mean, just out of curiosity, Texas, what makes you want to know that? What makes you want to know that? What makes you want to know? And I'm not being defensive or argumentative or anything like that. I'm just asking a question. What makes you want to know where the knife is or where the clothes are? What about that curiosity would mean closure for you if you knew that? And any of you that have a question about, what you'd really want to know, just tell me what makes that important to you, because we all have a reason for that. And that's understandable. Me, I've never thought that he kept the weapon very long, even though he may have idolized it. I believe that either the night of, okay, well, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense to me. That would let everyone know he is the one and only. Gotcha. Okay. See, that's why we ask questions, because we got to get some kind of understanding, right? I can't read your mind, and I especially can't read your mind in a chat. Dang, how good would I be, right? How about some of you others? What are some things that you'd like to know to finally put some closure for you? What would you like to know? Hey, Leslie, thank you for being here. What would y'all like to know about this case that you haven't been told? I want to hear it was a K-bar and he wore those stupid dickies. Okay. The big question, why? That's a good question. That is the big question. I do know he is the one, and yeah, I agree with you, Texas. I've shared my thought with you guys. In the very beginning, I told you I thought there were two teams, and that was not because somebody else was saying that. It's because of I heard them talk about parallel crimes. So in my head, I thought, okay, two were taken out at one time by two people. Two were taken out at another time by two other people. And I thought in my head, well, it'd be too hard for one person to be holding one down while you're stabbing her and the other one not fighting to get you off of her. That's why I thought the two-person thing. But I thought four different people. But eventually I let that go because it didn't make sense based on what they were releasing. You know what I mean? Mountain Mama says, why these kids? If there's a weapon out there, hopefully a kid doesn't find it. You're right. I would like to know, did BF get a cell phone picture and or video of BK that night crossing the parking lot in front and going to his car on Queen Road to change and leave, and DDM's cell phone or audio cam? That's a great that's a great inquiry. I've always thought that one of those girls got a picture or a video of him, and people have mocked me and made fun of me and everything else in between. There's no way that they could have got a picture of him. There's no way that they could have got a video of him. Okay, I'll go with it. I'll go with it. Hey, Luke, thank you for that question. I'd want to know his psychiatric history. Now the frat boys and sororities are being discussed, of course. But we all want to know what we want to know. Otherwise, we would have walked away a long time ago, right? And there are questions. I'd like to know when he made the decision to do what he did. You get what I'm saying? When he decided, okay, things are going good, because we've assumed that it was because this or that and the other, right? We've even talked about ego depletion and all that stuff, right? But I'd like to really know when that switch went from I'm okay to F the world, let's ride. You get what I'm saying? I think BK dug up the K-bar in a bag of clothes and took it with him and his dad to PA and reburied it in all that forest near the parents' home. Well, that's an interesting thought. I always thought that when I heard about that poem with the gnomes, that was another thing that people were making fun of me about. And I thought, well, there could have been a gnome that he buried that in or under, right? That's another good question, Luke. How long did he plan it and why that night? These are great questions, guys. Why them? Why those kids? And who was the main target? I still have so many questions. And you know, the more information you get, sometimes doesn't clear up the water. Sometimes it muddies it even more. For granted, I do want more. I know you want more. But when we get this information, you have to know, okay, either I'm going to start from scratch as if I've never heard anything about this case. Otherwise, it's going to convolute everything that I read in these documents. Because you gotta find a way to erase your mind where you're not biased while you're reading these documents. Because if you're biased in any sense of the word, you're going to be reading those documents as a biased fashion. Does that make sense to you guys? It would have had to be as if you just heard of the case yesterday. I agree with you on that. Does that make sense to you guys? Because, you know, we've heard so much. I've talked so much about it. I've done lives about it. I've put my opinion out there about it. I've, you know, just like tonight, I've put so much stuff out there. When these documents come out, if you really want to get your own perspective, you got to find a way to clear your mindset and just go with your own thoughts and your own emotions. Otherwise, you're going to convolute everything and it's not going to make sense to you any more than before you had the documents. It's like it just happened yesterday and you're reliving it from back to front because that's how it's going to happen. You're going to be getting the latest documents and you're going to be working backwards. So you're not going to get the juicy stuff, so to speak, until way down the line. So still a long way before you actually get those questions that you're asking answered. Because he said he's starting at the newest stuff and working his way back, whatever he's been a part of. I think you got to read them unbiased and by yourself to think it through. You're right. You're right. Because any other way, you're going to have your own perception. Whether, if you believed all along that he was guilty, then if you read it and there's something in there that goes against your thoughts, it's going to be hard to let your bias go unless you go in there just reading it the way it is. It's a good thought, Luke. At least Exhibit S1 is very new. Excuse my ignorance, but what is S1? Can somebody tell me what that is, what that's about? Because you do know I took about a week and a half off of this case. I didn't do anything. So can y'all educate me to that, what that means? Man, I just ate a quesadilla a while ago. It was so delicious. How many of y'all like, I mean, this is totally off topic, but how many of y'all like your tortilla just a little burnt with that little crust on it? Your cheese all melted in there. It went hard in the paint. It really did. I ate like I haven't eaten in months. I'm going to hate myself in the morning. There's a hell of a lag. Can y'all explain what the exhibit is? If you look at the newest filings on the court case site, go down in just a few, and there's a seal. Exhibit S1 order. Okay. Yeah, I like them a little burnt, a little crusty like that. Yeah, crispy. Especially when you put cheese in the middle and stuff, it goes hard in the paint. I had to grab me a quick bite. It was one of them big ones too, one of them big tortillas. I'm like, man, I'm hungry. Only beef ones. I know, you're a meat and potato guy. I didn't feel like cooking. I just grabbed me a couple slices of Velveeta, threw it in there, made it crispy, and went on about my business. Took it out. So I have to look at that. I will look at that, Farah. That way I'll be educated on what that exhibit is. I wonder what they're going to do with that model they made of the house. I thought the same thing. I thought the same thing. I'm sorry, Ronnie. I'm sorry. We do talk about food a lot in this channel, don't we? I guess they'll just tear it apart. You know what's going to be cool, though? If they actually show us the Faro scans of the house. Now, that would be cool. If we're able to see, the evidence part. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see the blood, and I don't want to see the autopsies. I don't want to see all that. I want to see the evidentiary part, like the CSI stuff. Show me the scans. Show me the measurements. Show me the photos of how the house looked on the inside without showing me the bodies, without showing me all that. Show me the pieces that led up to, you getting what you got. Yeah. Now that would be awesome. That would be awesome to see. Tortilla and cheese at night. Yikes, but so good. Yeah, I could have added some beans to it, but I don't have any. So, got to go quick. Got to go with what you got. I'm about to go on vacation, so I'm low on groceries. I'm down to soup and cereal and some peanut butter and jelly. That's about where I'm at right now. I just looked it up, and that's one of Dylan's texts and phone messages. Thank you, Luke. I just wanted to settle what was on evidence marker 4 to show Jeff H. I was right. Not to be morbid, but I still wonder who said I'm going to help you and why. There's no such thing as being morbid. We're all curious. You know that? We're all curious. And if people say they're not being very honest, I don't believe, because everybody wants to know some sort of some fashion of this crime or other crimes. It's kind of like when I go on vacation, God willing, I'll make it up to that Alcatraz museum. I'm dying to see Bundy's. Maybe I should use another term. I'm really excited about seeing Bundy's BMW Beetle. I mean, not BMW, a VW Beetle. Man, I want to see that in person so bad. And I want to see John Wayne Gacy's clown outfit. I'm still wondering if KG's Bluetooth was turned on and picked up audio. Do Bluetooth work like car radios? Because I know car radios, they send you a number before they pair up. Or kind of like AirPod, they send you some kind of notification that you're pairing up. So possibly he did pair up with that speaker, because I mean, can you imagine you're listening to the speaker and somebody pairs up with it? And the music goes off and you're like, what the hell? That happened to me. I could be on a phone call and I've used one of, my brother's kids, my nephew's vehicle at one point, or even rode in there, and I paired my phone to it. And when they drive up, they've never deleted it, so it pairs up to my phone. And all of a sudden, it takes my call away because it's being broadcast on the car. And the first time it happened, I was just like, "What the hell? What the hell happened?" That'd be nice to know. Where did they keep Ed Gein's human lampshade? 12 gauge. It has no handle or window rollers. Handles on passenger side. I'm going to take videos if they allow me to take my camera in there. I'm going to take videos for you guys so y'all be able to see. I'll show you. Did Kaylee wear a smartwatch that could tell us the time then? I admit, I'm curious about the crime scene, if there's any kind of unusual aspect, because there's been so many rumors. The truth will be good. You're right about that. Xana's phone may have been paired while she was on at 412. That's a good thought. When my husband gets home, my phone will pair up to his truck. It's really annoying. See, so you know my struggle. You know my struggle. I'm just glad I haven't been talking dirty to my girlfriend and my nephew be across the street listening. You know what I mean? I'm just like, oh, man. And who knows if he's caught me on any of those phone calls. You know what I mean? But I told him to unpair it. So I'm like, stop it. You know what I mean? I mean, that would trip you out if the music is playing and then all of a sudden it goes off and you look at your phone, whoever is streaming the music to the Bluetooth speaker, and you're still connected, but somebody else is connected to your speaker as well. What do I say? I'm like, what the hell? I never hear any laughing or anything, so maybe he hasn't heard anything. I pray to God not. You know, we're adults in here. I can say what, you know. I'm going to tell you what I tell my girlfriend, but Jesus. We've all done that from time to time, I'm sure. But back to the speaker. I mean, I'm sure that it's paired up, you know, somewhere, somehow. But I could be wrong. So it annoys you when your husband's truck picks up your phone? Does he ever sit there and listen to your music, or does he listen to your phone calls? Go ahead, it's okay. No, I'm good. I am good. You know what I wish Velveeta would do? I wish they would put some like Rotel type stuff in their cheese to make it spicy. Now that would go hard. Y'all like Rotel? What's your cheese? Like the cheese dip? Why am I talking about food at 11 o'clock at night? Come on, 12. Jesus. No, but I really, really enjoyed you guys chat tonight. You know, we do have to understand that at a particular point, we may never get our questions answered. Rondi wanting all the horny details. I know she's trying to live vicariously through me. Escabeche is good. All right. Always enjoy this channel. Thank you. Thank you. Even the dirty talk. I tell you, we grow up fast in this chat. No, but I hope y'all, and I know y'all do, but you know, we may never know. Like I was saying, we may never know what we want to know. We may be left with more questions than answers. I mean, because honestly, if I was going to be honest right now, I don't feel like I got a lot of answers. I got some answers, but not really any definitive step by step. And I mean, it's kind of like watching a movie and it skips to one part to the next part to the next part. And you're wondering, well, what happened in between these two parts? But I think, you know, whenever Dateline talked about it in their special, I believe that they told us exactly what happened. You know, I believe that Dateline episode really kind of gave us all the 411 on everything. The only thing the Dateline didn't speak on was the DoorDash driver. You know? I've always thought that too, Farrah, especially when I heard Bill Thompson talking at the plea deal. I thought to myself, man, if that's all you had, you bluffed her good. I just hope for the family to get some questions answered. I can't even imagine how they feel. That's 100% right there. That's 100%. The DD has had to keep all her information in for so long. I mean, that has to be a world record for reals. How many of y'all have friends that swear that they keep your secrets and they don't last no more than 10, 15 minutes? This woman held it in for what? Almost 2 years? Geez, I think she did good. I know some people would have went and told it right away. They would have told their family, hey, you know what? I was the DD driver that night that dude killed them kids. They probably wouldn't have believed you, but, you know, you still would have said it. Okay, I got it off my chest. That's what you would have thought. It was like, I finally got it off my chest. I don't know. I pray for all the people that have been exposed during this case and other cases that have come and the cases that have came before this one. Because there's been a lot of people that have been slandered over and over and over. And I can't say that I know why people do it because I don't. I have no clue. And I don't like to assume other people's motives because that's not who I am either, you know? Do you think that she mentioned that about the kids so that the police officer would feel sorry for her? It just felt odd the way she brought it up. I kind of do. I can believe it was online for 8 or 9 months before someone discovered it. Obviously, the original poster doesn't do true crime. And that is a hell of a comment right there because we have all these people claiming to be great online sleuths and nobody found it. Nobody found it. That's a hell of a comment right there, PKC. I agree with you. I think that night was the night he made up his mind it's happening. That's why he kept coming back and circling. That's a good thought. That's a good thought. I mean, I've never thought in my mind that Kaylee was the target. And I know at a point, everybody was saying Kaylee was the target because the dad kept saying the wound didn't match. Well, the wound didn't match because she got beat up and stabbed. It didn't mean that hers were, that much different. She still got stabbed with the same K-bar, but she also got beat up. And any logical person would know the reason she got beat up is because she either kept fighting or he was mad that she was in there ruining what he planned to do. No other reason. I believe Maddie was the intended target. And I've always believed that. Xana and Ethan, they were collateral damage. If Xana wouldn't have ordered, if she wouldn't have ordered DoorDash, they might have been in their room just like Dylan with their door shut. He would have been in and out. If Kaylee wouldn't have been in that bed, we might not ever know about Brian Kohberger if he wouldn't have dropped the sheath. I mean, that for all the people that said that this police force got it wrong and it was sloppy and all this and incompetent and all that stuff, I believe that they did a hell of a good job, whoever the hell tracked them down. To capture a man in 6 weeks, that's a hell of a job, in my opinion. That's what people are saying, Texas. That's what people are saying. But I've also heard that was due to somebody's dream. That it was never verified because we'd always been told the Matt Greed denied that he was ever in there. You know what I'm saying? You hear one thing, somebody else says, no, that's not true. And then you hear this, no, that's not true, blah, blah, blah. And it just becomes overwhelming sometimes. I don't know if he was wearing a belt or not. He could have just been carrying the knife in one hand, pulled it out, had the sheath in one hand, the knife in the other. I think it was the stress that made her spill it. It was within a week of the COV hearing, a couple days before decided. I'm sure she was worried where she was going to have to go. You're right. Really, I thought Kaylee was the main target because she wasn't supposed to be there when I heard that he liked all of Maddie's posts, but I wasn't sure. Yeah, I've always thought it was Maddie. I believe that's why Kaylee got the worst end of it. Because that's where his rage was. She interrupted his His moment of glory. I mean, I'm not saying the Mad Greek isn't involved. A waitress for the Mad Greek said he came in there for vegan pizza. I heard that too, Tom. I did, but then the owner said that they'd never seen him. I remember hearing that. I do. But, it's been so long. I could be, misspeaking right now. I don't know. We talked about it in here in chat. Okay. Yeah, it's closed down for sure. They probably didn't want a bunch of people coming in to take pictures of where the killer ate. Oh, exactly. The CCTV showed his vehicle and the phone pings. Yeah. I mean, if they had his phone pings around the Mad Greek, that would make sense. They're going fast now. BK had plans with and for Maddie. Yeah. The owner may have said she said he did. Okay. Like I said, that's so long ago. I'm probably thinking something else. You know what I mean? I'm glad you're here, though. I'm glad you're here. Haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing well. Damn, Tom, I thought you were talking to the other Potter. Now I question if it was Kaylee because of the girl that he was looking at online. He seemed to have a type, and Kaylee seemed to fit that type more than Maddie, but I don't know. Well, that's just my thought. I mean, I'm going off the wounds. Had it been the other way around, I mean, we don't know what shape Maddie was in. We don't know if Maddie was even awake. Many people have assumed she was passed out. But what if that wasn't true? What if she was awake? You get what I'm saying? I believe that Kaylee probably fought. You know what I mean? And that's the reasoning for the facial injuries. Because if he was going to be that enraged, then Xana would have had facial injuries like that, or Ethan would have had facial injuries like that, and they didn't. It was just Kaylee. Maddie didn't have them. So that makes me wonder if that's why Kaylee had more of the brunt of his rage than the other two. Because I don't know if y'all remember, but in the very beginning, we heard that one of the victims was sliced so hard that, and I'm not trying to be morbid here, but her head was almost decapitated. And I don't know if that was a rumor, that was 4chan. All these things in my head, I don't even remember where I heard them all. I don't even know if that's true or not. If that's not true, then redact that from the statement. You get what I'm saying? Probably panicked and punched her to keep her quiet. Yeah, exactly. Poor Maddie looked pretty light at the grub truck. I bet once she got home, she was out. Yeah, that was stated in the very, very beginning, Farah. That one of the victims, and I always assumed, I used to get Maddie and Kaylee mixed up. I used to call Kaylee Maddie, and I used to call Maddie Kaylee for some reason, because their names don't really match them. What's up? What's up, Walt? What's good? You're right. You're right, Tom. Yeah, there was a lot said in the beginning. It's hard to know without knowing the evidence. Yeah, that's true. But you get what I'm saying? Like, we get these redacted, or we get these documents. All of a sudden, you're going to have to go and erase your mind with what you've heard for 2.5 years in order to get an unbiased opinion. Otherwise, you're going to be throwing in all this stuff. And I'm not trying to throw in anything that's not true. If it's not true, hey, redact it from the statement, redact it from the live. I'm not up here trying to start rumors. I'm really not. I still think he had a firearm for just in case things went sideways. Interesting. Interesting. I mean, if he could parachute from a parachute and land in the tunnel, anything possible, right, Tom? I mean, yours sounds more logical than him parachuting in, you know? For reals. That's what I always wondered too. If he did have a firearm, why didn't he shoot him instead of stab him? But I believe that stabbing them was a personal thing. Because you got to get close to stab somebody. I keep changing my mind. Originally, I thought Kaylee, then Maddie, then back to Kaylee, then back to Maddie for the longest time. After Dateline, I wondered if it was Maddie and Xana, since Kaylee and Ethan's wounds were so different. Well, feed that little baby. Feed that baby. Give her a quesadilla. I remember him having a Glock, but never heard of any details. Yeah, definitely personal and brutal. You're right. Give that little baby a quesadilla, Leslie. That'll put her right to sleep. Hey, Kat. Long time no see. Steve said Kaylee was gagged tonight on Banfield. It was sexually motivated. The phone of Brian showed porn, passed out, gagged. Well, thank you for that. I hate that, though. You know why I hate that? Because there's been so many people that have stated there was no tying up or any of that. You know, none of the sexual motivation. But you could be right. I mean, thank you for putting that. Because I know some people are watching that. I didn't go and watch it, but you know, that's interesting. So Kaylee was gagged. That's why you didn't hear any screaming. Yeah. I mean, that's why we didn't hear any screaming from Kaylee, right? Now that makes sense if that's true. If that's true. Quite a while it was slipped that she was punched, choked, and stabbed. No one has brought up choke since then. Yeah, I heard that too. I'm sure she got a lot done to her. Because it sounds like she was awake a lot more. Her and Xana were probably the two that were the most awake. The other two probably didn't even know what hit them. So why would the prosecution bring up he didn't think it was sexually motivated? I don't know. I mean, shit. Excuse me. No, I didn't do that, but I just thought, you know, here is going to go a lot. I mean, like I said, we're about to go back to square one with all of this. He said the coroner told him marks on her mouth showed this. Okay. I'm not doubting you, Kat. I appreciate you bringing that information in here because I haven't watched it. And I don't think anybody's in here has watched it. You're the only one that's mentioned it. I appreciate that. I think somebody got angry at Ashley Banfield earlier. I don't know. Heard some people talking. Maybe it was he didn't get the chance. Steve said that they're covering up. Just need to listen to his interview tonight. Who's covering it up though? Well, I mean, based on his porn history sites and everything, that would explain that. I mean, I've always thought he went in there to do something like that. And I've even gone as far as to say he could have went in there and possibly wanted to abduct Maddie. Because it could not be proven, similar to stalking. If they don't report fear, how do they prove stalking? I pretty much always thought it was Kaylee until here recently. Now I think it possibly be Maddie. I hope we find out soon. Y'all hold on a second. Someone at the door. Hold on. Okay, guys, I'm back. Somebody just connected to my Bluetooth. See you tomorrow.
See?
Make sure you're packed.
Jerry got all my stuff ready.
All right, make sure you got everything and the scooter's charged.
And I got my money.
That's what
I'm
I'm
rich.
talking about.
I'm rich.
My guy. My
I
guy.
see you. All right. Well,
Well, sorry about that, guys. That was my family, and we're gonna actually leave tomorrow for our vacation. So I guess I got to get up early and pack. Dang, that came out of nowhere. I saw Cricket today. She was all over me. I lost my train of thought. I don't even know what we were talking about. If he was interested in one of the girls, then he definitely knew about the other since the girls were such good friends. That's true. That is true. Well, I got to get to bed, guys, because, I mean, I got to get up, pack, and all that good stuff. You're watering in the dark. That's some good stuff right there, PKC. Some good stuff right there. Y'all got mosquitoes your way? I'm headed east, Texas. I'm headed east. But I won't be, I'll be too far from your area on the way out, or I'd stop by. It breaks my heart that all of them were killed, but to know 2 of them were awake, knew what was happening, and fought for their lives had to be so much harder for those parents. Exactly. I need to re-listen to him. It was interesting. He's saying the prison had plans for Brian to help them understand his kind or something. Not too bad now. I have a few bites. Make sure you use some of that off. You don't want West Nile for sure. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to listen to every interview. I mean, I have nothing against any of the parents. Y'all know that. I just want to hear it from the court. You know what I mean? Either the court or the documents. I want to hear from them. You know? I will, Texas. I will. I'm probably going to do a little packing now. It doesn't take that long to pack swim trunks and tank tops. Yes, it's worrisome that SG said that about BK in prison getting a welcome and he was just talking and not meaning it for real. Of course, because people are going to jump on that. And it's only making him look worse. Because people don't get that he's angry. They get that he is just a vengeful father that has no rationale for what he's talking about. I won't be over there. I'll be on the East Coast. But you guys, thank you so much for being here with me tonight. I'm going to call it a night. Be looking out. Set your notifications if you want to see some of the vacation stuff. I'm definitely going to be going live on my GoPro, and probably I'm going to take my laptop just in case. But I probably will be MIA for a while, at least for a week and a half or so. But y'all hold it down till I get back, right? And don't jump through too many rabbit holes. I don't want to have to come dig you out. You know what I'm saying? Y'all be awesome as always. Once again, my name is 12 Gauge. And I'm going to leave you with this. I can't remember which one I did. Hold
Welcome
on.
to 12 Gauge Investigative True Crime Channel. Here we speak on the education, the understanding of the crime, and deep diving into the mind of the afflicted. Justice for the victims by giving the silent a voice. Hope you enjoy. Welcome to 12 Gauge Investigative True Crime Channel. Here we speak on the education, the understanding of the crime, and deep diving into the mind of the afflicted. Justice for the victims by giving the silent a voice. Hope you enjoy.
In the shadows of the street lights, where the truth gets buried and the silence bites, we dig where the cowards won't tread. Unmasked, a predator, track the dead. Bloodstains fade, but stories don't lie. We rewind the screams, rewatch the why. From cold cases to courtroom heat, justice ain't blind, it's just complete. 12 Gauge, we break the silence. Crime, killers, pain, and violence. Truth bleeds out in black and white. We shine the light, we fight the fight.
12 Gauge, we just a Titus. 12 Gauge, we just a Titus.
Cynics laugh that crime's just noise, but we listen close, we find a voice. From missing and murdered lives, the leads, we stitch the truth through forensics and deeds. The mind of a killer, the victim's last breath. We chase what's left when there's nothing left. You want facts, we got the tape. You want closure, we'll set the shape. On 12 Gauge, no fear, no rest. Built for justice, built to test. And every scream and every thread, we speak for the lost, we hunt the dead.
Gauge, you're just a Titus.
Where crime hides, we go deeper. Where others stop, we start. This is not just a show, it's justice. This is
12 Gauge, you're just a Titus. 12 Gauge, you're just a Titus.
I hope y'all enjoyed that. Y'all have a wonderful night. Don't work too hard tomorrow. It's Friday after all. Fire up that barbecue grill. Get your family close and take care of yourselves. I'm out, guys.